She didn't last long. I'm talking about the University of Pennsylvania's president, Liz Magill. After her dreadful Tuesday testimony before Congress, she was almost universally condemned. On Saturday, even after an attempted but failed mea culpa video, she resigned. On Saturday, the chair of the Penn Board of Trustees, Scott Bach, wrote to the Penn community informing them of Magill's resignation. She won't be going very far. She will remain a tenured professor at Penn's law school, and she'll keep her salary. As you know, Magill, along with the presidents of Harvard and MIT, failed to condemn calls for the genocide of Jews on their Ivy League campuses, and before that, failed to take action to help protect Jewish students on their campuses. And since that congressional testimony and since Magill resigned, there have been calls for the presidents of Harvard and MIT to likewise resign. Yesterday, billboard trucks were sent to Harvard's campus that read, "Claudine Gay, the best friend Hamas ever had." The privately funded trucks also include pictures of Harvard President Dr. Claudine Gay during her appearance before Congress. But while many are calling for Gay's resignation, some Harvard faculty members are supporting her in a very public way. Last night, more than 500 faculty members out of the approximately 2,300 faculty, which is more than 20% of Harvard's faculty, signed a petition calling for the board not to fire Gay over her remarks on anti-Semitism on school grounds. Meanwhile, hedge fund billionaire Bill Ackman is not having it. Yesterday, he wrote a letter to Harvard's governing boards of directors calling for Gay's resignation. Ackerman's letter reads in part, quote, "In her short tenure as president, Claudine Gay has done more damage to the reputation of Harvard University than any individual in our nearly 500-year history," end quote. Bill Ackman is not stopping there. He also tweeted this about MIT, quote, "To the MIT governing boards, let's make a deal. If you promptly terminate President Kornbluth, I promise I won't write you a letter," end quote. And as Jewish students continue to live in fear on college campuses, comedy show Saturday Night Live is making light of the situation. During the show's opening sketch on Saturday Night Live, mocked Congress anti-Semitism hearing. Some Republicans are now demanding an apology from Saturday Night Live for that sketch. North Carolina Congressman Greg Murphy tweeting, quote, "Nothing short of a full-fledged apology from entire staff of SNL is required. Attacking Representative Stefanik instead of the anti-Semitic progressive presidents rings of their own anti-Semitism. Typical damn liberal hypocrisy," end quote. And George Washington University Medical School is also under fire. Earlier this month, GW Medical School hosted a faculty panel titled "Understanding the Conflict in Israel and Palestine." According to the New York Post, panelists referred to the Jewish state's military operation in the Gaza Strip as, quote, "ethnic cleansing and genocide." Panelist Michael Barnett, a professor of international affairs and political science, was quoted as saying, "Israel rightly can claim self-defense, but I also want to note here that Hamas and the Palestinians also have a right of resistance," end quote. Right of resistance? Is that what Barnett calls an early morning slaughter and rape and burning to death of innocents, a right of resistance? Whoa. Chairwoman of the House Education Committee, North Carolina, Congresswoman Virginia Foxx joins me. Good evening, Madam Chairman. Tell me, after last week's hearing, what did you conclude is the next thing you could do, want to do, or was the hearing the end of it?
We actually had talked before the hearing that we wanted to do a full investigation, not just of Harvard, MIT, and UPenn, but of many, many schools, Greta. As I said in my opening comments and probably in my closing comments too, there is a rot in post-secondary education. As I said, I don't call it higher ed anymore because I don't think they're teaching higher order skills. And I think what's been happening and what's been revealed in the last few weeks is showing that. We have real problems. I've been talking about this for years. We've been working on reform legislation that we'll be rolling out in the spring. But we are going to demand a lot of information and a lot of answers from presidents of these schools and many others. There are problems in our colleges and universities, and we need to ferret them out.
Have you heard from any other college presidents? If so, which ones? Or have you even made any contact with other college presidents and, quote, invited them to come testify before Congress?
We have not done that yet, but we probably will. We have somebody who's going to be working on this issue full-time with some other folks part-time. So we're going to give a tremendous focus to this issue, Greta.
First, each school is more horrifying than the next. So you got Harvard, MIT, Penn. Really, considered to be really good schools. You have to have high scores to get into them. But I must say, hearing that from George Washington Medical School with the Hippocratic Oath, that they're in any way as sponsors or have a panel like that, a medical school is having it where it says that they have a right to resistance, and this right to resistance was to slaughter those innocents.
Oh, it's exactly as you said. The Israelis were asleep in their bed and they were attacked by Hamas. They're the victims. They're the innocent people. This was not a right of resistance. Israel was on the verge of putting together a tremendous peace deal. Hamas could not stand that. They want to keep the people in Gaza under their thumb. And it's really unfortunate. And I'm troubled very much by what happened, what was said by GW. The medical schools want to do diversity and equity. They want to admit people not based on their qualifications. We've already written a letter to medical schools about this and the medical school boards. This is something we've been on top of, too, before. We want the best people in our colleges and universities and in our medical schools. And I am very troubled.
All right. Do you have leverage? Do all these schools get some federal funding of some sort? What's your leverage to actually get some action out of these schools?
Yes, Greta, there are only 7 schools in this country that do not take any kind of taxpayer money. Let's be sure we say it that way. I know we always say federal dollars. Those come from hardworking taxpayers that send their money to the federal government. So they're getting the taxpayer dollars of people who never went to college. And some didn't apply. Some are smarter than to go to college. But they're out there working, paying their taxes. We want their money spent well, and we're not going to allow that. But yes, we have leverage, and you're going to see, again, more and more people demanding that we take that leverage.